Salam and welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is Quran Conversations, the podcast for anyone who wants to unlock the meaning and healing powers of the Quran. I'm your host, Dalia Mogahed, an author, researcher, and a student of the Quran. I'll be in conversation with one of my dearest teachers, Imam Muhammad Majid, a scholar of the Quran and longtime family counselor and congregational leader. In today's episode, we explore the opening verses of Surat Yusuf, unlocking the lessons on the unique nature of the holy book and the power of dreams. For more spiritual insights, follow me on Instagram at Dalia Mogahed. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Assalamu alaikum. Imam Majid, thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me. I've been looking forward to it all week. Welcome to this conversation. I wanted to just start by asking you to maybe lay out why Surat Yusuf is so special. What was the context for it being revealed? And why is it important for us to talk about it today?
Bismillah, salatu ala Rasulillah. So I'd like to thank you so much, Sister Dalia, for having this conversation about one of the most beautiful surah in the Quran. All Quran is beautiful, but the surah, especially Surah Yusuf, is a surah that has a story from the beginning to the end in one surah.
Yeah.
Most of the stories, as you see, you, alhamdulillah, have read also reflections of Quran. It's the story of Musa alayhi salam in many surahs, but Surah Yusuf is the surah that talk about the story from the beginning to the end, and it's so special because the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ received this surah before Hijrah.
Mm.
It prepared him for the Hijrah because it talks about Yusuf alayhi salam leaving his land, being in a different land, the struggle he had, and the prosperity he get in the different land, as if saying that Medina would be better than Mecca for you in establishing the community. Although Mecca is a very beloved city to Rasulullah, it is a Balad al-Haram, but Medina become the home of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And matter of fact, when the Rasul opened Mecca, the Ansar thought that he's gonna change his mind, go back living back in Mecca and so forth. But the Rasul told them, no, I'm gonna live among you, I'm gonna die among you. Medina become home. Well, the other thing is that if you think about Surah Yusuf, is the surah that talks about family. If you ask me what surah in the Quran about family, I would say Surah Yusuf. More than any other surah, because have all this family dynamic, in every level of it actually.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that family dynamic because it's so important today. What I love about Surah Yusuf, in addition to everything you said, Imam Majid, is it's a surah that really brings out the human condition. It deals with themes of grief, of loss, of betrayal, even within family. And my favorite is redemption. This surah is such a story of redemption for every single person who did wrong, who wronged themselves and wronged others. In some way, they were able to come back and redeem themselves. It's such a story of hope, and so needed in our world today. So I very much looking forward to this conversation. Let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What I think would be easy or best is if you are okay, you can read the Quran and read the Quran in Arabic, and I will read the translation, and then we'll discuss the ayah together, inshallah. Bismillah.
Bismillah. Just before I would recite start with the recitation, I just want to have people who are hearing us to say that every ayah of the surah is connected to other ayah. There's a flow of the surah. Therefore, as we even discuss the verses, they have to know there's a connection between them and other verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. Because you see, it's just like there's a flow, like a river. It's all of them connected. The surah begins with the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started with the letters. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام را. تلك آيات الكتاب المبين. إنا أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون. Those are first two verses.
Yeah, let's start with that. And as we're going, I think reading or reciting whatever number of verses seems logical for the discussion, and having them all kind of come together with one idea is best, whatever that might be. تلك آيات الكتاب المبين. And the second one being, here we go, Alif Lam Ra. These are the verses of the book that make things manifest or make things clear. Surely we have revealed it, an Arabic Quran that you may understand. And I just want to stop at these two verses and kind of reflect on what they mean. The second one is the one that really caught my eye, but I'd love to hear your reflections on the first as well. In regards to the fact that it mentions an Arabic Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. And the idea of aql, or, it's translated sometimes as understanding, the significance of it pointing out that it's an Arabic Quran so you might understand. And so there's a few things that came to mind. First is when an author is telling you that this book that they are giving you is so that you understand, it's a challenge to dig into it. It's a challenge not just to take it at surface value.
Yes.
And it's a very confident challenge.
Yes.
Because it's appealing to your intellect, not just a fleeting emotion. It's saying take this book seriously and think about it deeply, and it is so solid with truth that it will withstand any type of inquiry you might have. So go for it and challenge it with your mind.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The first ayah, it says, "Tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin," and says this. The word "tilka" in Arabic language, you have this pronoun called ismu ishara. Ismu ishara. Ismu ishara have hada and tilka. Hada for something near, and tilka for something far. Then you ask yourself, why didn't Allah say, "Hadihi ayatul kitab"? He says that tilka ayat, because tilka is saying those are the verses would elevate you. They're going to take you to highest place, and says that this ayat, those are the things you look up to. Those the verses, this story about to tell you is going to elevate you. Tilka ayatul kitab, the greatness of the ayat. That's why he said use tilka, not hadi. That's one aspect. And then the
I love that. I love that so much. So anytime you want to point out linguistic miracles, this is my favorite thing to think about. So please do that. Yeah.
Okay. And subhanallah, when I was listening to you about saying the book challenging you to think, every word of it is just fascinating. Even this story, amazing way of relating concept and teaching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the story to teach us values, but He used it in the most beautiful language. تلك آيات الكتاب المبين. Then the in this surah it mentioned kitab. تلك آيات الكتاب المبين, because the Sahaba wallah alayhim said, Ya Rasulullah, we hear the stories and so forth, and when لا تقص علينا, telling us stories. We want to hear the stories. And Allah reveals Surah Yusuf. I'm going to give you the best of the story. تلك آيات الكتاب المبين. And the word kitab, in Arabic, it means also like a letter. When you write a letter to someone, it's called kitab, because everything written is called kitab. But Rasulullah sent letters to kings and he called it kitab. And the letter that Sulaiman alayhi salam sent to the Queen of Sheba, it's called kitab. ألقي إليه كتاب كريم. The word kitab is not only a book, like many pages. Also, in every surah of it is a kitab, is addressing us, to address someone. And also kitab means from kataba, mean prescribed. كتب عليكم الصيام. But it has so much, the Quran has so much teaching on it, some of the inspiring us, some of the instructing us. But the thing that, since you reflect on Yaqilun, I think the Mubin is another word.
Yeah.
Kitab al-Mubin. And the Mubin, that is explain itself. It doesn't need so much explanation. But also mean that as much as you dig into it, it becomes more clear to you. Mubin. Okay? Because it brings clarity from Bayina. Clarity. Kitab al-Mubin. And then the word يعقلون, you might ask yourself, why is it Arabian? Some people, the word Arabi have been discussed as in the Arabic language, but also from clarity on it. يعرب عن شيء. يعني you have clarity within it as well. It's Quran Arabi, but also understandable. Not complicated. And then ta'qilun, that one things that I'm thinking about is that in Quran, the word aql never been mentioned as a noun.
Right.
Or always a verb.
Yeah.
It means that it's going to tell us how Yusuf alayhi salam used his intellectual ability to hold back, to be able to control. لعلكم تعقلون. Learn from the aql of Yusuf. Learn from how he experienced. So from Yaqub alayhi salam, this aql, this ability of controlling oneself with a high level of the intellectualism. Intellectualism is not the just philosophical, abstract discussions and so forth, but it is ability of controlling oneself. And I see it in the surah all over the place. They can tell you that the lack of aql and the use of aql in the surah.
And that's so important, that the concept of aql is to tie oneself, to restrain oneself,
Yes,
to put our ethics above our impulses. That is the highest level of, quote, intellection. And so it's so important, because we think of, sometimes intellection can actually be the opposite of that, where people rationalize with very fancy words a justification for their impulses.
Exactly. Right.
I'm also struck by and you mentioned this, the connection between al-Mubin and Taqilun. That this is a clear book. This is something that with thought and with examination becomes more and more clear. And that's very important, because many books and many messages, the closer you look, the more you think about it, the more they actually make no sense. All the internal contradictions become very obvious. But this book is making a claim that if you really examine it, it will actually become more and more clear to you, and not the reverse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The more that you explore it, the more that you become in awe with it.
In awe, absolutely in awe. The other 2 points I wanted to maybe raise up about the idea of Quran and Arabian and Arabic, pointing out that it's in Arabic, is something I heard from Sheikh Sha'rawi that I thought was interesting. Is he says, first it's talking about, it's addressing the first audience that are Arabic speakers, and this was their greatest mastery is in language. So it's addressing them, saying this is in your language, and yet it surpasses your greatest poets. So you should think, you should it you know you should reflect on this fact and understand it's from God.
Absolutely.
And he said the second point I actually thought was very interesting and relevant to us today, because most Muslims don't speak Arabic, right? So how does it say, how is it pointing out an Arabic Quran? Now you mentioned a different meaning for Quran Arabian, but even if it were to be understood as the word Arabic in terms of the language, when most Muslims do not speak the language, why would it tell us? Why would it point out this point, this fact about the nature of the Quran being in Arabic, so that you may understand? And he said something interesting. He said, these people who were the Arabs were not like the Persians, were not like the Egyptians, were not like the Byzantines, who had a civilization to draw from. They were not even people that the superpowers were fighting over.
Yes.
They had so little in terms, so there was nothing to draw from to produce what they went on to produce after this book. So the fact that it was revealed initially to the Arabs is in itself evidence that it is a miracle, because of the only variable that explains the before and after of warring tribes and then people who basically were ruling half the world is this book.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to explain it, and the prophethood of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam.
No, this is really beautiful. Going back to the word Arabi, I just mentioned one dimension, but you're right. By the way, I'm so glad you quoted the Sheikh Al-Sha'rawi. It's one of the people that benefit a lot from in my journey with the Quran myself. But also that, Arab, they have amazing way of describing things and telling you stories and poetry and so forth. You're telling them, I'm going to give you something better than what you used to have. If you want to really, really to see the beauty of language and learning and so forth, now come to this Quran. That was an invitation for them as well, challenging them that if you really master the Arabic language, come and listen to this. And that's why the Surat Yusuf was, I believe that was a reason for many people to accept Islam. Because of how the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told this story. What is very fascinating that Allah challenged the Arabs to produce something like the Quran. They couldn't. Although, there's no one have claimed that at the time that they can bring something like the Quran, of the style of it. The difference between the Quran and Arabic poetry. Since Dalia, if a person will have a poem in Arabic, it's called qasida.
Right.
Qasida is a group of verses in Arabic poetry. But the Quran did not name the chapters of the Quran with the verses qasida. We call it surah.
Yeah.
It's not poetry. And the Arabs used to call the end of their verses of the Arabic poetry, they call it qafiyah. This year we call it fasila, the end of the verse. And they have the verse of the Arabic poetry called bayt. But the Quran called it ayah because it's the purpose of the verse. It's pointing to something. But it's Quran Arabi, but it named itself differently from the beginning. Differentiate itself from the average Arabic language at the time. The uniqueness of it. Yeah. For the surah, qasida, qafiyah, fasila, and bayt, and ayah. Those are
pointing to its uniqueness.
Yeah.
It's not prose, it's not poetry, it's something completely unique. Yeah. I had asked you about the word anzalnahu, and I thought it was interesting when you said, when you explained the concept of tilka instead of something that was near, something far, and then it goes on to say inna anzalnahu, so it implies something coming down from somewhere high up.
Yes.
And the other thing I just wanted to point out in the second ayah is the use of the divine plural, right? Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. And it's addressing a group, right? It's addressing all of us. It's la'allakum, all of you, a plural.
Absolutely.
But the next ayah is not addressing a plural anymore. It then addresses a singular. And I'd love to talk about that with you. Maybe we can incorporate or bring in the third ayah into this discussion.
Yes. نحن نقص الله سبحانه وتعالى says أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we reveal to you, يعني maybe you can read the English, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين. You can read the English translation.
Yeah. We narrated to you the best of stories by our revealing to you this Quran, though before this you were certainly one of those who did not know.
Yeah, the word نحن also use the word we.
Yes, yes.
And this the royal we.
The royal we, right.
But you're right, it didn't say نقص عليك, not عليكم.
Right. This is the special part.
Yeah, that's special. It's amazing that how it prepares Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to comfort him in personal level and become comfort to all of us. One of my teachers used to say, every Quran, verses in the Quran that meant to comfort Rasulullah, meant to comfort his ummah after him, the community. Because his comfort is our comfort. And we can relate to his struggle. He was struggling with Mecca, like torture and abuse and all the kind of things he had faced in the 13 years. And this surah then was revealed in the end of the years of Mecca. Where he said, نحن نقص عليك. Like, it feels like a special address. عليك أحسن القصص. The word قصة in Arabic is to relate something of tracing track of someone else. Like it's different from a novel. A novel is an imaginary story sometimes. But قصة in Quran, it meant to tell you exactly what have happened in a real story. All of it is real stories. Because in Arabic, they say قص الأثر, tracing somebody's footprint.
Right.
The Arabs used to be very good at that. If somebody lost their camel or lost something, they trace the track of the camel, and they come to find it. There's a joke there. I'm going to tell you that they say there's a guy lost his camel, and he was looking for it and so forth. And a guy said to him, "Does your camel have a limb?" He said, "Yes." He said, "The camel has one problem, one of his eyes." He said, yes. He said, did the camel have, the tail is not that long? He said, yes. He said, I have not seen it. I have.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean we have not seen it? You said everything else. I'm like, come on. Then he took him to the judge. I just said, how come you describe his camel? He said, you have not seen it. He said, because I realized that in the footprint, in the step, the camel is one of the foot is the print is so heavy and the other is light. If I knew that has a limb,
Yeah.
that's how good they were. And he said, because I realized that there's a trees on both sides, and some trees has more actually things on them to be eaten, like leaves, and he ate from the one have less. That means he couldn't see the other one. And then
Wow.
his drops was all over the place. That means his tail was short. Therefore, the qassa, they used to be like amazing in following the footsteps. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نحن نقص عليك. We will tell you exactly the stories that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the infinite knowledge and infinite wisdom. This the story comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best witness of everything. We're going to tell you this story. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. The other things is that أحسن القصص, the best of the stories. You know that also another latifa they call it. They said if somebody said swear by Allah, said, "Oh, Sister Dalia, I'm going to tell you the best of the story. By Allah, I'm going to tell you the best of the story." They said if this person tell you other than Surah Yusuf, have to fast 3 days. Because it's
You have to be careful. Yeah. Be careful saying this is the best story, right?
Allah says so. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. The best of the story. It's amazing the introduction to the story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala get you excited. Like this, somebody said to you, oh, you're going to see the best movie of your life.
Yeah.
It's the best thing. The best novel I've ever read, and so forth. Preparing you emotionally, psychologically to get excited about it, you know. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to him, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. We're going to tell you the best of the stories. Since the Sahaba, radiallahu alayhim, they're asking for the story to be told, Allah said, I'm going to tell you the best of the stories. No one tells the story like me, but the story that I tell has values, has moral values, has lessons, and so forth. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. He said to him, part of the wahy. It's not the story that Jibreel alayhi salam told him as Hadith Qudsi, or it is like Jibreel alayhi salam entertaining him on the side. No, it's part of revelation. بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن إن كنت من قبله.
Yeah.
They have no idea about what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam. We're going to tell you what happened to him. This ghafla here does not mean heedless of Rasulullah was not mindful of Allah. It means that you were not aware of what they're going to tell you. To show that he didn't make it up. This is a story that none of the Arabs that heard this story, like the Quran, what the Quran told them about it. The first time they heard it, they heard it because there's a story in the Old Testament, but it was not in Arabic. They have not heard it, and this is different by a little bit between the Old Testament and the Quran.
Right. The point I wanted to also bring out is that in the second ayah, it's addressing all of humanity, right? It's saying, "Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun." All of you. So we have revealed or sent down an Arabic Quran so that all of you, plural, can understand. But then in the third ayah, when Rasulullah is being addressed, the difference between the word أنزلناه and أوحينا إليك. I was very interested in asking you to explain the linguistic difference between أنزلنا and أوحينا.
That's a very important question, actually. And then, because Quran was revealed in 2 stages. Nuzul al-Quran. One is coming from the Lawh al-Mahfuz to the lower heaven, and scholars said that happened in Laylatul Qadr. And then in the night of power, night of decree, and then it was revealed to Rasulullah. There's another nuzul.
Yes.
But al-wahy is telling somebody something in private. It's a private conversation.
Subhanallah.
بما أوحينا إليك. Only to you was revealed to you. It's a private, wahy in the Quran means a private conversation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَحَيْنَا إِلَى Musa. We have revealed the mother of Musa that to breastfeed the child and take care of her child and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أوحى ربك إلى النحل. Allah told the nahl, the bees, how to build their homes and so forth. But Quran talks about wahy also like a private conversation happened between the shayateen and human being. شياطين الإنس والجن يوحي بعضهم إلى بعض زخرف القول غرورا. الوحي في العربية in Arabic language الإخبار في السر.
الإخبار في السر. Yeah, telling someone in secret, something that no one else can hear.
Exactly.
Yes, a private conversation.
Amazing things that you asked this question was told you first because we want to comfort you first and then share it with others.
Subhanallah.
أوحينا إليك. And you see this, أوحينا إليك, to you was revealed.
Yeah.
بما أوحينا إليك هذا. It's so beautiful. And it shows that, like you read in الضحى, for example. In سورة الضحى, in سورة الكوثر, سورة الشرح, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used that direct, addressing Rasulullah directly. He said to him, والضحى والليل ما ودعك. This kaf called kaf al-mukhatab. Like he addressing him as an individual. Inna a'tainaka. So every time he has discomfort, Allah comfort him first. أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. بما أوحينا إليك. But it's beautiful that you looked at the difference between أنزلنا and أوحينا.
Yeah, I'm working on memorizing this surah. No. And as a result, I mess up a lot. And because of that, I notice the differences. I could make a mistake, and in the third one, I could say, أنزلنا إليك. And I was like, no, that's wrong. So you start to notice this, and I encourage anyone listening, memorize. Don't just read, because you will notice things you would never notice just reading, because you're going to make mistakes memorizing, and then you'll learn, why is it this word and not that word? You start asking that question. And I think that asking even the question, why this word and not that word, we're going to keep asking these questions throughout this conversation, because they bring out this one questions of just why the word was chosen instead of a different word can bring out so much meaning. Yes. And so much insight. And I love when I discovered that al-hayna is a conversation in private.
Yes.
Between two people where no one else can hear. It's like an intimate, two people who are intimately in connection with each other. Yes. This idea of this was a very intimate relationship between Rasulullah and Allah. No. And he was being comforted with this surah during Am al-Huzn time. This is when it was revealed, as you mentioned, a time, the year of sorrow, the year of sadness, when he lost his love of his life, his soulmate, Khadija radiallahu anha, and he lost his father figure.
Yes.
So why this surah is so special is it was a private gift first to Rasulullah to comfort his heart at a time of great sadness. And Allah is telling him, this is for you, this is for your heart. And in that, it comforts us too.
Absolutely.
And everyone after it. And it's another lesson of the Quran is something we should take very personally.
Yes, absolutely. Every verse of it.
Every verse of it. And I think this is something actually not everyone fully gets. When you said, Imam Majid, that every time the Quran is comforting Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, it's in turn comforting us. People don't realize that. Oh, that's for Rasulullah. I'm not being addressed here. This is just for me to know what he was being told. It's not me. You know, or when in Surah Taha, وَأَلْقَيْتَ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِنِّي, and I bestowed love on, love from me, where Allah is talking to Musa about his life, about the tragedies, it seems, one tragedy after another. And he says, actually, all these tragedies were acts of love from Allah to him. And you point that out. Allah is saying he is loving to you. Oh no, that's not me. That's Musa. That's it. No one else is being addressed here. And it's this concept that Allah is addressing us through these stories, us now, today, reading as believers, is one that people challenge.
Yeah. It's interesting that this surah talks about first Yusuf being betrayed by his brothers. And the Prophet have been betrayed by family members like his uncle Abu Lahab and his own people they grew up with. It just has so much dimension in it that Rasulullah can relate to in a personal level. He can see himself in it. But I want to point one thing in this ayah is the tajweed aspect of it. Like the mad, this بما أوحينا إليك. It is meant to, when you read it, is that telling Rasulullah أحسن القصص بما أوحينا. The emphasis on that being revealed to him. Talk to him. بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. There's a relationship between tajweed, by the way, and tafsir. There's no mad, doesn't have meaning. It's not out of place. It's not just to make a long vowel. But there's a relationship between them. You're going to see that in the surah, by the way, later in a conversation between the wife of Al-Aziz and her people and Yusuf alayhi salam. Clear shift in the conversation itself based on how you pronounce the
Subhanallah.
No.
Subhanallah. So we then go to the next ayah where it starts the story. Ayah 4.
نعم.
بسم الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. This actually is very big.
Yes, there's a lot there. Yeah. Subhanallah. I want to start with something maybe very, very basic, which is Yusuf alayhi salam is a child at this time. And he had a dream he didn't know how to understand. Perhaps it was unsettling to him. And he trusted his father enough to tell him. Because this is not to be taken for granted. In many, many cases, and these aren't bad parents, but there's a distance, there's a punitive relationship. Children don't have anywhere to go with difficult emotions. They don't have a trusted parent or caregiver or anyone or any adult that they can go to and say, I had this dream and it's confusing me. Or I have this feeling that is unsettling. I don't know what to think about, and just share it. So they keep it inside, and it becomes a coping mechanism that as adults they become hyper independent, which is not being tough. It means you're traumatized because they didn't have someone they could trust with difficult thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's always sort of glossed over that that from the beginning he went and told his father the truth, told his father something that happened that was confusing or he didn't understand it, because it contrasts this relationship with the way his brothers dealt with their father, where there was no vulnerability, where there wasn't honesty, where there was trying to control the situation. And it contrasts these two very different dynamics between, parent and child.
Yeah. It's so beautiful that you just said, mashallah, that, in the Quran, there's a lot of parenting.
Yeah.
If you don't realize it. And it's, in Surat Yusuf is the relationship between the father and the son. In Surat Musa is the relationship with the mother and the child.
Yes.
The father is not in the picture, but the mother. In this here, the mother is not in the picture,
right.
The father. But there's a contrast between Yusuf and Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam comes from the line of Yusuf.
Right. Yeah.
For Allah, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks in the Quran about the mother of Maryam alayhi salam and Maryam, another mother and daughter relationship. And then the relationship between Maryam alayhi salam and her son, Isa alayhi salam. Therefore, is very interesting that the Quran talks about all of this type of relationship, and Luqman and his son, in the Quran. Therefore, there's a lot of parenting that you learn from the Quran itself, parenting classes, parenting lessons. In this story here is the intimate, thought, which is dream, being shared, which is if you tell your children, you can tell me anything, they can tell you the most private things about them, if they trust you. And there's nothing more like a dream. Like, no one witnessed it. The brother cannot have seen Yusuf done this, or only him knows what happened. Right. And yet he shared that. If you can share that so intimate, moment and feeling that only you have seen, then you can share other things. You don't have to hide. You don't have to check out of the website of the parents come. Those children have this code, like the parents comes and they have this parent over my shoulder, like all of this kind of.
Yeah.
The code.
The secret language.
Language.
But
that is one thing. But the most important thing is that the quality time that Yaqub alayhi salam gave to his son. If he does not make himself accessible to his son, then the son will not have told him this story, right. the dream, and how the son talked to his father. The word abati, like my beloved father. Abati is so kind, it's so gentle. Abati inni ra'aytu. And the other thing is that the son realized this may be something so big, it required parents' guidance. Maybe have seen other dreams. Maybe does he have he told the father every dream of his? Maybe not. Maybe have seen this and said this is something real, as you said, confusing, something big, unusual. I need to share it with my father. How many of us, our children, share their dreams with us? And when they share their dreams with us, we need to help them, to uplift them, and to guide them, and to encourage them. Sometimes we kill the dreams of our own children.
Right.
A child tells you something that wants to become this and that, and the parents say, "Oh no." Or sometimes we direct their career. I want to become a scientist. No, you have to become, I want to become a journalist. You have to become a doctor. Let them, facilitate their dream a little bit. Help them. Don't.
Absolutely. I realize I forgot to read the translation. So
Yes.
my apologies.
Yes.
This means when Yusuf said to his father, "Oh, my father, surely I saw 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them making sujud or prostration to me." What you said about being a safe place for your children to tell you their dreams is so important. And these are actual dreams, but also the dreams for their lives. um, I I think that, you know, sometimes parents believe that their role, they tell me anything, right? Tell me everything.
Yeah.
But you will, and at first you trust that, right? And you do, but you get a response that is harsh, that is critical, that is shaming,
Yeah.
and you realize, no, I've really learned my lesson. Never again, right?
Shut down. Shut
Right.
down.
And yet the response from Yaqub alayhi salam is anything but. It is he was a safe place to, you know, to land for Yusuf. And he doesn't just kind of listen and say, "Oh, that's nice." He does exactly what a parent should do, which is to guide, to make sense of, to make it a teaching moment, all of these things. And we will get to that with the coming ayahs. The thing I wanted to just point out, and obvious, this is quite obvious, but I want to point it out, is this is his vision that will come true in the end of the surah, right? We know that.
Mhm.
And why this is so vital to keep in mind is that from the beginning, this was written for him, that his brothers would come and they would show respect for him. And the only way that could have happened is if he was in this position of authority in Egypt. And the only way that could have happened is if he had gone to prison. And the only way that could have happened is if he had been enslaved. And it goes back that from for your dreams to come true, you have to go through the process of a series of events that you may not understand their purpose,
Mhm.
but they are set up for you to bring you, to get you to where you were supposed to be all along. And we know this because he has this vision as a child,
Absolutely.
and his whole life leads up to it.
Yes. When there's expression, this is Dalia, they said, if you dream, dream big.
Mm.
If you dream, dream big. And the they said that صوب نحو الثريا لعلك تصيب أعلى المئذنة. Shoot to the star, you might get the minaret.
Mm.
Therefore, dream big. A man said to his son, what do you like to be when you grow up? And the son was so loving and said, I want to be like you.
No.
And the father said, oh, son, I don't want you to be like me. And the son said, why, Daddy? He said, when I was growing up, I would like to become like Ali, radiallahu anhu. And you can see the distance between me and Ali. I want you to think someone higher than me, so that if you get me, then you'll be happy. But I want you to dream bigger. I want you to dream big. That's why they say, "صوب نحو الثريا لعلك تصيب على المئذنة." Shoot to the star, and get the top of the minaret. For every time you dream big, you have to know there's difficulty comes with it.
Yeah.
The people who have small dreams, they have less troubles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can dream big. You want to change the whole world. There's a poet named المتنبي. He said, إذا كانت النفوس عظاما, if people have a strong ambitions, تعبت في مرادها الأجسام. He said, then the body will not rest. have great ambition and you have want to do something big. And that's why some of the ulama of raqaiq of this behavior, Muslim scholars, they said if you want to have Jannah, sometimes Jannah make you be able to get up at night and abandon the bed a little bit. You might give up the money that you love in sadaqah. You might volunteer your time in helping others. Therefore, if the more your objective is higher, the more that effort that you need to spend to match that objective and goal in life. And therefore, Yusuf alayhi salam did not dream small dream.
No.
It's a dream of stars. Really, he dreamed literally about this.
He shot for the stars literally, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Therefore, if you shoot for the stars, it's not going to be an easy ride. You know, it's not going to be an easy ride. And that's why, me personally, I believe that, when you set up a goal for yourself, you have to know what it takes, whether you're going to be able to do this or not. If you dream big, you're going to have to be ready for it, And in your journey of accomplishing your dream, you're going to have a lot of hinders, obstacles, challenges, and you have to be able to navigate it. Human jealousy, sometimes somebody, even family member, want to pull you back, and all kind of Islamophobia, all kind of things are going to be in the way. And how do you navigate that? And I think the surah, as we're going to go through it, it tells us how Yusuf alayhi salam navigated every state of his journey and how he is able to have this coping mechanism and resilience and optimism, actually, in dealing with all of this difficulty. When he said to father, رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا والشمس والقمر, يعني 11 planets and the sun and the moon. Now, the kawkab is different from the stars. The kawkab, like the moon is kawkab in Arab. The kawkab gets its light from the sun. His brothers,
it reflects the light from another source.
Exactly.
Yes.
Therefore, it is very interesting. Those are the family members.
Yeah.
Including fathers, mothers, as you're going to see later in the end of the story. But that's why it's a family. Is a surah about the family. It's a family surah because it begins with the family. Even the dream itself represents the family. Right? The difference between ru'ya and حلم والرؤية, dreams and vision. الرؤية من الله والحلم من الشيطان. Interesting, Sister Dalia, you see it in the Quran, the word ahlam, which is hilm, and the word ru'ya. The word ahlam means confused things you see in your dreams. Ru'ya means a vision. It's very clear. Okay, even in modern language, we use mission and vision. The dream, the word ru'ya being translated dream is not completely accurate. It's a vision that they have seen, and that's why ru'ya never come in the Quran with jama' plural. No, you cannot see ru'a, none, zero, because it's clear. Like the word nur and zalam. The light in the Quran always comes singular.
Right.
يخرج من النور من الظلمات إلى النور. ما قال من الظلمات إلى الأنوار, because the nur is one, the light is one, and the darkness are many.
Right.
The same thing of vision. For he has a clarity on his vision. All of us who should not be confused of what we want out of life. Should have vision, not only dreams, because dreams are, but vision, and a vision has to see beyond this life. You have to see beyond this life, the next life. And that's the difference between being visionary, being a dreamer.
That's that's profound. And I mean, what I find is that so much stress and anxiety sometimes is caused, especially in many young people, by lacking that vision, by lacking that purpose. And when we hear that that God loves lofty things and dislikes petty things, we have become, and we are as a society so called to care about petty things, and so distracted from our purpose.
Absolutely.
In and the advice, sometimes people ask me, what's the advice you'd want to give to your younger self? And that's my advice to my younger self every time is, don't focus on petty things.
Yeah.
And keep your eye on lofty things. Focus your energy on your purpose, not on pettiness, on who has more likes on social media, on who has the best clothes or the nicest car, or whatever it is. I mean, what this teaches us is keep your eyes on your purpose. And yes, you will face hardships, but the meaning in your life, the fulfillment in your life will far exceed. You will have hardships if you focus on pettiness too.
Yes.
It just won't be meaningful.
Exactly. Yeah. I know we've been now almost 1 hour talking, but I would like just to affirm what you just said so beautifully, that, Yusuf alayhi salam, if you ask someone, what did Yusuf be known for? Many people, they say he was beautiful, he was handsome.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not what's been known for. Like, the beginning of the story is not about how he looks. And there's no a single time in the surah, as you're going to see, that Yusuf talks about how he looks. He didn't say, "And oh Allah, thank you for being so handsome."
That's right.
Nothing.
Never.
He dreamed big. He's like, because the look, he doesn't have anything to do with it himself.
Right. And it was a great test. It was a source of a great test.
A great test.
It was not useful in any way. It was something that made it very hard for him.
He knew with it himself. But interpreting the dreams and struggling in life and ruling, helping people in Egypt, that is something he have control over. But how he looks, it doesn't matter for him. He did not mention anything about how he looks. Even when he thanked Allah, although it's a good thing to thank Allah for everything, but he did not mention how he looks. He said, Allah, I thank you for having me able to have knowledge to interpret dreams, and thank you for bringing me and my family together. But nothing he said, thank you, make me the most famous guy in the cover of magazines, ever handsome living guy, whatever they call it in America, the living person. He did not talk about that. And we become so obsessed with look, so obsessed with, this filtering we do use now people use in social media, like self-image. He was not occupied with that.
Not at all.
Was not his focus.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. And it reminds me, I always want to remind, especially young women, but really everyone, of the beautiful dua. It's so perfect that we are told to say when we look at ourselves in the mirror. Allahumma hassan khuluqi kama hassan khalqi.
Yes.
Oh Allah, beautify my character like you have beautified my creation.
Yes.
So what if you're saying? You're saying you're re-channeling your attention to what you should care about beautifying, which is your character.
Beautiful.
And you're acknowledging you are beautiful.
Yes.
Right? Because Allah created you. So it's not saying I'm ugly or I don't, you're not diminishing your looks.
Yes.
You're actually affirming, or, these like daily affirmations. I'm beautiful. I'm strong. I'm this, I'm that. You're you're acknowledging that you're beautiful. You're reminding yourself, but you're actually saying, but that's not what's important.
Absolutely.
And who made me beautiful? Why am I beautiful? Because Allah made me. It's perfect. It's exactly what everyone should be thinking and saying. That those are the affirmations we need to be saying in the mirror.
That is absolutely beautiful. MashaAllah. I think we can do more than this next time we meet.
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. And until we meet again, this has been an absolutely enriching conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Dalia. Thank you.
If you're hearing this message, it means that you listened to the entire episode. So thank you. We really hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please share this episode with others who may be also interested in unlocking the meaning and healing power of the Quran. Also, we love hearing from our listeners. Tell us your reflections. What touched you? What made you think? You can leave us a comment on our Instagram page at Quran.conversations. We read every single one, we promise. Finally, we hope this podcast encourages your own reflective journey with the Quran. And toward this end, here is a reflective prompt. Have you ever felt a verse in the Quran was a personal message just for you? What was that verse and why? Until next week, salam.